Thank you. So, first of all, I want to thank CREAF for the invitation, and particularly to Liz, Robert, and Jordi that made the personal invitation. So, yeah, my talk is about dating trees. And I was quite surprised to see that dating trees is not actually mentioned in the Kinsey report, you know, this report about human behavior. And let's face it, I mean, dating trees, you have a lot of people around dating trees, the world. So, and yeah, I had a crush on this one. Unfortunately, it was a case of unsuccessful dating. Didn't work out. So, yeah, so it's... Okay, now, seriously. So I will talk about a research project that has been keeping me occupied in the last 3 years. So it's called Invisible Woods, and the main aim is to search for archaeological and historical woods and try to date those woods. This, of course, by itself is an important information for archaeologists and historians. But it's, as you probably already see, it's also a way to get back trees and the information that can be hidden in the tree rings on a more ecological perspective or climatic perspective. So the project is like three main groups working in the project. So the Center for Functional Ecology, this is a center for archaeology and art history and also cultural heritage. And we also have a team of engineers that are specialized in wood structures and in rebuilding old woods, which is nice to have such a team if you want to go into old buildings. For one, okay, you have the safe side that you're not damaging any master piece of wood, and so it's been very. For me, it has been very fascinating, this project, because you really have to talk with different people with different backgrounds, and so, of course, different mind frames and different ways of looking at things. And so this project was also very important to call the attention to archaeological companies that nowadays, every time there is huge constructions, if something is found, you have to stop the construction, so the archaeologists have to record everything. And in Portugal, dendrochronology is quite recent compared to for example, to Spain or other Central European countries, or of course with USA. So it's quite recent. We started in 2004 or 5, and so actually the archaeologists were not very sensitive about wood. Or I mean, yeah, they discovered wood, but they gave more importance to coins or ceramics, and so it was also, this project was also a way to spread the word. Look, woods are important. We are interested in collecting those pieces of material that can also give you back some nice information. And yeah, and of course, architects and engineers, we're also been in contact with them, and they were very interested in the project. So yeah, we have built a network then in Portugal. So I guess most of you, or at least, most of you are familiar with this classical image of how to build long chronologies. So like starting with living trees, and then if I collect some wood from a building, I can cross-date this information so the growth patterns are similar, so I can actually anchor this piece here. And so in a way I get more and more a prolongation of time with these tree rings. And I mean, of course, the scientific founder of dendrochronology was Andrew Douglas from US. So he actually built, I mean, tree rings and were known for a long time, but it was Douglas that actually made the scientific roots of dendrochronology, and start building long chronologies. And he was very successful in dating some pueblos in the US using these chronologies, these tree ring chronologies. And so actually this project is a kind of, following the steps of Douglas, going to the roots of dendrochronology, using collected. So basically, we are collecting wood, trying to build chronologies, if possible, linking chronologies to other different chronologies. And so in that sense, I'm using words of David Bowie, we are absolute beginners. So actually, I have nothing much to offer. There's nothing much to take. We are absolute beginners in the field. So basically, we were searching for invisible woods. Yeah, and I call it invisible woods because most of these woods are not actually visible, or are hidden in the soil or hidden in a building. So they are really, you have to look for them. And so what I will what I will talk about is some samplings or some field sites that we had in Lisbon, and then in the town of Tomar, it's a bit north of Lisbon, and then, okay, I finish in Coimbra, where I'm working and living. So, yeah, and this is just to show you, so we have sampled so some buildings. The initial idea was going to the roofs and collect wood from the roofs. There is, but at some point it was quite disappointing because you can only get very short series of tree rings, very few tree rings, and it's very difficult to date with very short tree rings, the length. So actually, yeah, we had to change a bit our strategy, as you will see. So Lisbon. So basically, well, this is one of the first paintings that you can see a bit of description and the city of Lisbon, the streets, and yeah, it's topography of Lisbon. And so from Lisbon, we collected woods from 3 different places. So this place, Conde Barão, the Dom Luís, and Campo das Cebolas. And this is just to show you that this is a topographic a map from the 19th century, and this is, okay, nowadays. And so just to point you where it is located nowadays, these 3 sampling sites. So let's start with the first one, Conde Barão. So it was, as previously shown, it was close, of course, to the river. And of course, Lisbon, I mean, it has very different faces. It was Roman Lisbon, Islamic Lisbon, and of course it was the queen of the oceans at some part of the history of Lisbon. So every time they dig near the river, they found wood structures associated with, boats and shipyards, and that's what we have been finding in Lisbon. This is just another view of how it's changing the line, the river line of Lisbon with time from the 18th century to the 19th century. And this is just to show you, this is one of the aspects of the archaeological excavation. Okay, the map is quite small, but so this is the schematic map of all the woods that were found in this place. You cannot see it because it's too small, but the yellow spots are actually the samples we have collected. So we could get like good sampling of all the area. The second place in Lisbon is this Praça Dom Luís. When they went to build a parking place, they found this beautiful wooden structure, like a network of woods. And you can actually see, this is also talking with archaeologists, some of the woods have shapes that say that it belonged to ships, meaning that they reused wood from old ships, they put it there in this structure. So, and actually this can get very complex to date all this, because you can have woods from different times, because you actually reused those woods. And okay, this is a bit more detailed map on the structure. And this is to highlight the samples we have collected. And for this one, I have preliminary results. Okay, this is our first preliminary results. So we could find conifers and oaks. Okay, for the conifers, they were the length of the series, meaning that the number of tree rings that we have found were unfortunately very short. And with very short tree rings, it's quite difficult to date because, well, basically what we do is you compare with reference chronologies that are already dated, and it's also a statistic procedure that you try to match these growth patterns and find if they really match. And if you have very short series, it's it's not possible. I mean, or it's more, the doubts are higher. Okay, with Hoke we had more lucky, so we had older series. So this is a construction a bit of the tree ring chronology for Hoax that we found in this archaeological site. Okay, this is just a way to represent the amount of samples involved in connection with the ear. This is an APS, this is a parameter that dendrochronologists use to see the connection between different series, meaning that if they are highly correlated, meaning that they came from the same site. And this is still preliminary, have to still to run again through this, but the dating of these hoax gave between 1650 and 1670. That would be more or less, and it's in agreement with also what archaeologists think about this structure that was found there in Lisbon. And another nice thing that you can do with tree rings is that, okay, if you date, that's because you have found the reference chronology that matched better, and this is immediately giving information on the probable provenance of these woods. And so what he's saying, the results of this analysis was saying is that these oaks came from Northern Europe. So probably we didn't have any more oak or trees to use in structures, and so we have to import. And actually it's historically also known that we imported wood to Portugal. Okay, the third place in Lisbon, Campo das Cebolas. So it's more near the entrance of the river. So it was used as a smaller harbor, and actually the boats that we found there were smaller boats. They were meant to flow up the river and bring several, to bring business or whatever. So several stuff. So this is like an old map of this area of Campo das Cebolas. You have very nice names like the house of, in Portuguese is ver o peso, it's watch for the weight. So it's to control the amount of for example, if I was selling fruit, I had to verify the weight of that, and so very nice names. And so this is just a view of the archaeological excavation. Okay, they really found this small boat that was used to go up the river. And this is just an so it's to show you the overlap of the sampling sites that we took, also wood samples, and the actual map nowadays. So, okay, now let's leave Lisbon and let's go a bit north to the city of Tomar. So we have looked for wood in the Convent of Christ. From the monuments I know in Portugal, this is one of my favorites. So it was really a privilege that I was allowed to go in, look for woods. We went to the roof structures. They are very beautiful, but very disappointing in terms of sampling wood. Very short series of tree rings. Just a few images. I'm not going to describe in detail the Convent of Christ, but if you go to Portugal, just go here. It's really beautiful. And especially what I really like about this monument is that, so it has several, so it started to be built in the 12th century, and then you have 16th century, 17th century, and they were building on top of each building, which nowadays it would be absolutely a scandal. But by those times. And it's what making this convent really, this monument really beautiful. So this is another view, last view. And so, what were the best? I mean, it was really the best samples that we get from this convent. So there is this large corridor in the convent where the monks having their rooms to sleep. And luckily, this is, it's lucky and you are looking for, so you also look for the luck. This piece that, if you see, it's here, all over it's in the roof, in this roof. One of these pieces fall. And the guy there in the convent delivered to us and look, maybe this is interesting for you. Oh yeah, indeed. This is, yeah, you have a lot of tree rings here. So that's an interesting piece to look for. So, okay, this is another view. So actually we went through all this corridor. It's a huge one. It's in a cross shape. So there are 2 corridors actually. And actually we tried to pull some others to increase our sampling, but didn't work out. They were very attached. So what we notice is that, okay, here it's, you can be visible, the transversal section of the wood, so where the tree rings are quite visible. But then, in the longitudinal section, we can follow up these tree rings. So what we decide, because we couldn't take out the wood, so we had to, okay, let's then sample in a digital way. So I'm talking about, so this is the corridor, okay, and these are that you can find along these corridors, the wood pieces, and so we took photographs of it. And as you see, so you can actually measure the tree rings from this side. It's a oak species. And so it's very good because there are a lot of reference chronologies on oak. So luckily we will be able to date these species, this material. Okay, this is a more detailed view of these sections. And of course, I'm working with historians and archaeologists, so they are learning all the techniques of dendrochronology. So it's really wonderful that they came out of their field to meet my field, and I go out from my field to meet their field. And of course, for historians, documents are a very important source of information. And this is a document it's kind of book of expenses on constructions that they had in the convent. And so they have already translated. You need practice to read this old way of writing. You need really practice. And so they have translated already some of the things. And I highlight here a nice thing that they say that some of the wood came from Flanders. So Flanders, I'm sure it's the old word for Flanders. So we know that some of the wood that was used for this, or probably most of the oaks that were there, are coming from, again, from the north. Okay, but I didn't highlight the others. But for example, there are also, it's also mentioning that they are also buying chestnut from local region. Okay, so this is very important to cross-date this information in order to have the full picture. I mean, dendrochronology is one technique that can add some, of course, a very detailed dating process with an annual resolution, which is amazing for archaeologists and historians. But this is not the full picture. The full picture is, okay, what the historians know from documents, what the archaeologists know. This is, it's part of the puzzle, okay? And, okay, let's arrive to Coimbra. So we have also sampled in the Santa Cruz church in Coimbra. So this is it's a very it has a high symbolic meaning for Portugal, because where is our first king is buried, so Afonso Henriques, and so we went to the choir of Santa Cruz, And so, of course, when you're looking for the wood, okay, what could be interesting? Maybe there I find some nice wood with big, a lot of tree rings. That's what we are looking for. And of course, because you are looking at the wood, you really look at the details. And of course, the choir is, it's very different if you go out as a tourist, you look, yeah, it's nice, beautiful. But if you have to look into detail, you find amazing things, very nice wooden sculptures. Okay, the Portuguese and the sea, the classical connection. And yeah, this is very nice. This is what is called in Latin the marginalia satiric, in very hidden places. Even if you are in a church, you have such, I mean, nice images like a pig or a bear playing an instrument. You have, okay, some erotic or sexual, very obvious sculptures. So they are in hidden places, but they are there, which is amazing. This is like showing in full, in a full coverage the human mind. You are in a sacred place, but you're putting little things that makes you laugh. That's and provocative also. And so here, of course, we cannot saw wood. I would be, expulsed by the Inquisition. And so what we did, we carefully removed the benches where the monks were seated, and we have smoothly how do you say in English? Polished, yeah. We've smooth polished or sanded a bit this wood, and so you have then we have photographed, and so we will work into in a digital sampling. So not the actual wood, but we will measure the tree rings in a digital image. I just want to call the attention to a minor detail. For me, I didn't know. So you have this major bench that is lifted down when the monks were seated. And of course, during the Mass or during the praise, sometimes you have to stand up, sit down, stand up, sit down. And when they had to stand up, of course, they lift the bench. And then there was this little bench here where they actually seated. They looked as they were standing up, but they were sitting. And this is called, in Portuguese, and I'm sure it's misericordia. It's mercy. And I know what you're thinking, oh, these lazy monks, but I would like to see you waking up early in the morning for the praise. And so they asked for mercy, and they had one. So it's misericordia. They were standing up, but sitting down a bit. So it's a really wonderful detail that I've learned from archaeologists and art historians. Okay, so the only preliminary results on dating actually is only from Praça Dom Luís, so hopefully this year all the things will come out concerning the other sampling sites. And now I want to highlight that, and in a bit more connection with ecology in a way. So this project can be more than collecting wood and dating that wood, okay, which is per se quite important and nice and very interesting for art historians and archaeologists. So I'm highlighting two very recent publications, and this one, so this is from 2017, and they talked about the importance of having tree ring archives that are important to have information on the Earth system science. And so they went to a huge database that is curated in the US, which is the International Tree Ring Data Bank, where if you have tree ring series dated, you can upload these, can make it publicly available. And that's an important source of reference chronologies, even for dating woods that you don't know the date. So what these authors went is to see is that, one of their conclusions is that the upload of new tree ring series is decreasing in the last year. So fewer information, at least is being uploaded to this site, or fewer work is being done, I don't know, in dendrochronology. And of course, as we know, so here you have like a spreading of the tree ring records in accordance with the mean annual temperature where the trees are coming, and also with the annual precipitation. And so most of them are within a range of precipitation and temperature. And of course, this green side here, which is a representative global forest areas, of course we are talking more about tropical regions that is more difficult to have dendrochronologies, or because of the lack of seasonality, so or it's harder to understand the build-up of chronologies and dendrochronologies. And this other publication, actually they upload all the information in this international tree ring data bank to see a bit, to analyze to have like a global overview what's within this international tree ring data bank. And so they built this, they showed this map where, okay, a lot of chronologies come from the US, very much from Europe, of course, and also from Russia. Probably they are basically Russians. Here they highlight that some of the files have problems, so something is wrong with this file. So they need to be reviewed if you want to get those series. And so they also show that most of the chronologies are from conifers, very much fewer from oaks. Okay, so this is to show, okay, maybe the unbalance that you need to maybe feed this data bank with other species and especially other areas of the world. And then they built this nice map where, in a way, they have established a priority index, meaning that which are the areas that we know less, or at least the chronologies were not uploaded to this international tree ring data bank. So this could be, okay, of course we have, for example, very few information on African regions. So, I mean, I'm not going into detail but about this map, but of course this highlights the importance of, first, okay, to have if you have more information on tree ring series from different areas of the world, it's possible then to get ecological information, climatic information, and so this is very important to ecology and from an ecological perspective, and especially, I mean, climatologists, they really use tree rings for climatic reconstruction. So so these two articles were really stressing that it's important, an investment in a way in at least, I don't know if people gave up of uploading tree ring series in this data bank, but we should think about it. And to sum up, this American historian, David Lowenthal, he wrote a lot of books on cultural heritage, and he has this very nice sentence that he said that the past is a foreign country. And in a way it is. We have to discover these things and try to know this past, which is very often foreign for us. And so what I want to highlight with my talk, and doing a classic, this is a classical dendrochronology work that I'm doing with this project. So pursuing and collecting wood, and either from living trees, or if they are in buildings or in archaeological excavations, can actually increase and strengthen our information about the past, because probably we can extract very interesting information on the past conditions, but also about future trends. And talking about future is always a bit, what is the future? And so nothing like a philosopher and a saint at the same time, Saint Augustine, to define future. And he has this, I found it, okay, very nice way to sum up what is the future. He said that future events, therefore, are not yet. And if they are not yet, they do not exist. And if they do not exist, they cannot be seen at all. But they can be predicted from things present, which now are and are seen. So I think it's a wonderful way to define the future. And well, thank you for your attention. This is the invisible team. Okay, this is art historians. Okay, these are biologists, archaeologists, and Gonzalo started this project with me, so he's no longer with us, so he couldn't take the picture with us, but I put him there because he was an important guy to start this project. Thank you very much for your attention.
So, are there any questions for Cristina?
Thanks for the very nice talk. Do you know what's the reason for this reduced contribution of dendro data to the international trending data? When, in general, no, the opposite trend is what it's and data are required to be more often in open repositories or contributed to databases. So why is this happening?
Yeah, that's a good question. You see, there is one issue about dendroarchaeology. That means the people within the dendrochronology that work more on dating, wood structures or wood archaeological samples, that also use it as a business. So it's like companies that are actually dating, for example, paintings and this, I'm not saying that's the main reason. That's why not more tree-ring series are uploaded or are being uploaded to this international tree-ring data bank. But often, and you see, and I've experienced in this field that sometimes you look for reference chronologies and they are actually not really fully available in this international tree-ring data bank. But you have to talk with the people, and they have these chronologies. And so that, okay, this might be a small reason, I hope. Also, I think in Europe they have also been building a tree-ring data bank, but maybe it should be like an international tree-ring data bank. So actually, or I don't know if also fewer people are, which I don't believe. There are a lot of groups working on the chronology, keep sampling trees, and especially now you can see a lot of activity in tropical regions. I think that they are really trying to build chronologies for tropical regions. So I hope they put it. It doesn't have to be in this international tree-ring data bank held in the US, but yeah, you're right. The tendency is open data access.
Fragmented effort, like there are other databases.
Yeah, probably there are more fragmented. You have to look in. So yeah.
Could it not also be that, obviously, when you start such a database, first you have groups that are working and they have data that never have been contributed, and so it's kind of released in several phases.
Yeah.
The people responsible talk on conferences, and then suddenly also there is, the new data cannot, how to say, it's not enough new data to have that many.
Yeah, also.
Uploads coming.
Right? Yeah, it can also
because,
be
the
a reasoning.
chronology group in the world, it's also not huge, eh? There are. Keeps split under the 1,000, eh?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So maybe, yeah.
Cristina, when you take one of these series and to date it, how that mix with the location? So you need to search your series with any series in the data to identify.
Yeah, so basically you go, so you have your series that you don't know, that you want to date, and you really cross this series with a lot of reference chronologies. Okay, logically you would start in the Iberian Peninsula, and then if they really don't have a high connection, then you start crossing with chronologies from other regions. And so the matching of this is what giving the probability of provenance. You know, that's, okay, probably it came from that region. And this is a nice thing. I mean, it's interesting, of course, that we have in Portugal woods that were coming most likely from northern regions, and historically it's known that we imported woods. And even if Northern Europe has already a lot of chronologies, master chronologies, three-ring series, this is also a nice way to give back, in a way, this information to that region. And to, let's say, if we, okay, in ecology, we're always worried about, oh, we have so few replicas, so maybe, I don't know, it's a way also to increase the information, even to regions that, or strengthen the information, even to regions that already have quite good information on tree rings and tree ring series. And especially if you think about climate reconstruction, and they need, I mean, to strengthen also their climatic reconstruction. If they have more samples back, it's...
How does it match the climatic reconstruction with the chronology? Because apparently the climatic will diffuse the matching with the chronology.
So, I mean, of course, the idea of, I mean, if they match. For example, if the hoax that we found in Lisbon are matching quite well some series in Northern Europe, that means that they were growing under very, very similar climatic conditions. And so this is the base. I mean, and then, of course, another thing is to look for what is the strong climatic signal represented by these three rings. But this is a role for climatologists, and how for sure they have a very complex analysis to extract these climatic signals, and to give, to strengthen their conclusions. And but I mean, if I understand your question, so this is so in a way what we assume is that the growth patterns of these three rings are quite dependent on certain climatic conditions, or at least some climatic parameters that will give similar patterns of growth. So, and from that, then you can reconcile. I mean, climatologists also always to have a calibration period where they actually know the climatic parameters, but to go back in time, then you use this. The relation between, okay, what's going on today, and so they made this reconstruction. Yeah.
More questions?
Following this, then this means that wood was exhausted in Portugal, and then they had to import from Europe.
That's I mean, that's a sign of it, that we ran out of wood, or at least oak wood, and then, I mean, we needed this wood to the constructions of boats or docks or shipyards, and so it's for example, and I want also to highlight the difference, for example, of dating wood from a structure like this Praça Dom Luís, where they have this very nice network of wood that probably it was added, like I said before. You have some woods that look like coming from boats, that maybe some damaged boat, and then they could use this wood to just to put in the floor to reinforce the structure. And so this gives complications about dating, because probably you have them different probably provenances, growth patterns, and it makes it more difficult to date. But for example, if you go to a choir like Santa Cruz church, probably that wood was like order in a row. So it probably came from the same forest. It's arrived there to build on purpose that structure. And that makes easier. So what I expect when we start working with this wood from the choir is that the patterns should be very, very similar. They probably come from the same forest, because it was a piece that had to be built. They had to buy the wood. About these areas in Lisbon, they are more, I think, more complex in dating these structures.
Yeah, is it also? Yeah, it's also quite important to like some ships and some constructions. They need to be like waterproof and solid, and the wood could not rot on fast. So the species was very important here. So running out of wood in general, I think that's a very fast conclusion in my opinion.
Yeah, although I mean, if you think this wood in Lisbon, they were they were close to water, and that's they're very wood is, if it's covered with water, it's quite resistant. It gets quite resistant to being
but
rotting.
I mean to say like. Portugal run out of wood would be a big step.
No, yeah, well, we have trees there. We still have trees.
Yeah. A certain type of wood that is
sure
was not there.
Yeah, sure.
Maybe there was other trees, but that were not good enough for the use that they wanted.
And I mean,
give it.
I mean, historically, it's known that the hoax from the north, they were quite strong. They were, because the growth is very small, so it was strong wood. And I was joking yesterday, saying that these benches in Santa Cruz Square, they needed to be very strong for the fat monkeys and the monks, not monkeys, monks, the monks. So they needed a good oak wood and strong. So it's also, probably they needed good wood, and especially for a choir. I mean, it's like expensive wood. Sorry?
The volume?
And the volume, yeah.
Because you can have good wood you also need it in a large...
And I mean, exchanging things among different areas. For example, I was reading a text that boats from Portugal were, when they went to Brazil to build up there some fortresses, they actually also transported everything from Portugal and then arrived and built, including wood, and stones, and so they were carrying this. So it's normally exchange. So it's actually incredible.
And what about the oak forest in Flanders in the 16th century?
No, it has been. I mean, I am not sure. I cannot answer that a lot, but I know that since quite some time we don't have big forests in Flanders anymore.
This was
it's very
surprising for me.
I mean.
But in that, Flanders,
wait a second, because Flanders in these days and Flanders in that time was not the same thing.
Sure.
So the region where I'm coming from, in the 16th century and 17th century was not called Flanders. It's the east of Belgium, the east of the current Flanders, and there was a lot of forest. There still is more forests today. So, I mean, I suppose that there were oaks, and I suppose that what they call Flanders could be a much larger region than what we call now Flanders. Larger in the sense north-south, because the north of France up to a big part of the Netherlands was Flanders, and then, or the lowlands. And so you could, I mean,
and also Flanders, maybe the wood was not from Flanders, but even far east, but it was a very important commercial network there for many centuries. They were leading the commerce.
When you match the series with some records in Flanders, was from some building with wood of Flanders, but not necessarily the oak was ground there. Maybe it was ground from the same place and was to this building in the Flanders and this building in the Portugal.
Okay, yeah. You can also have...
You cannot attribute the forest to...
Yeah, that's right. It's not a direct... you're right. It's not we cannot take it for granted. Yeah, you cannot take it for granted that...
Because it's very hard to transport the wood unless by the rivers.
Oh, yes. They were transporting wood through the rivers and to get the arbors and... So well, I mean, it's really fascinating because to try also to, of course, and for this you also need historians to go into documents and to understand the trade and so it's.
Any other question? Good, so then we thank Cristina again for coming.
Thank you very much.